Hi guys, in this week's episode of Taylor Talks Trades, we are with Lewis Page from Corstorphine Gas Services. He's talking about apprenticeships and he's talking about how he's built an awesome culture that helps him retain his staff. I hope you enjoy. Alright Lewis, welcome to Taylor Talks Trades.
Thank you for having me.
I'll start where I always start. How did you get into the trade?
So, as a young lad, football was all I wanted to do. That's what I was set on. There was nothing else, but got to 16, didn't quite make the cut, didn't get the contract, and at that point it was, I'm leaving school. I got good grades and things at school. I could have stayed on, probably could have went on to uni and things, but it just wasn't for me. I don't think it is for everybody. I liked PE, I liked craft design. I just didn't like sitting at a table and learning all day. So at that point, said I was leaving, my dad said, if you don't have a job, you're not leaving school. As simple as that. So it was then, what can a 16-year-old lad do? And trades was the sort of most common thing. At that point, you don't know if you can still do it now. You could go to like your college and you could do skills tests. So I done all of them. I done electrician, builder, plumber, joiner, and just hope that somebody picked us up. So
was this like the sort of aptitude test that you used to do, and you would
like,
fill it out, and depending on the score you got, they would then kind of put you into a category?
Yeah, so the kind of, it was, a lot of it was sort of common sense, a lot of it was like telling the time and stuff like that, but you filled it out and it went, people that were looking for an apprentice came there, picked the people with the highest scores, and you got interviews. So I must have contacted 100 companies, nobody came back, but I was lucky enough that my previous employer contacted them and my name got put forward. So I think I interviewed 4 or 5 and I was fortunate enough to get the role. So.
And what about the football side? Were you going to be good enough to make it, or was that?
I played for Hibs up until under 19s, but at that point I was just told too small, not strong enough, and it's not for you. I had offers at lower sort of leagues, but it was part-time roles and that wasn't going to be.
It's quite a big decision to make then, eh? Like, it's certainly like that early. Like, I remember a couple of guys that I went to school with and stuff, like they like did kind of make it in football to a certain level, but it was like apprenticeships like at 60 quid a week and stuff like that, and they were travelling away through to, I think that was maybe, it was like Eastern Barton or something at the time. So it's like that was quite a big a big decision to make for me. Away from the football.
I loved football so much, but I think when I got to that age and realised it was contract or no contract, I sort of fell out of love with it. So I didn't actually find it too hard to just say, right, I'm jacking this, I'm not doing it. I still continued to play, but I went back to my sort of boys club. So I went back there. So I was just playing with my mates and things at the weekend.
So then previous employer, they took you on. How did that look? Was that like a 4-year apprenticeship kind of idea?
Yeah, so.
Did they put you straight into that then? Or, because like we've spoke a few times on this podcast about like the way that I'd kind of done it was like similar to you, like I'd phoned and emailed, like sent CVs to about 100 companies, only 2 came back, but one of them had offered me, like it was a bricklaying job, but the other one had offered me like a roofing apprenticeship, but I'd have to do like 1 year with them first to kind of prove that I'd be able to go through a winter, I'd be able to actually work out in the rain and just like, you know, things like that.
So it's a 4-year apprenticeship, and at that point it was, you had 2 years doing the plumbing side, because it was a plumbing and heating apprenticeship, so 2 years doing the plumbing, 1 year fully focused on the gas side, and there was 1 year of sort of on the tools experience. Now, they want you to ideally do it in that order, but you can do a year on the tools first so that the employer could gauge what you're like, and then put you to college.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mine was straight to college, so I was straight in.
And then what was the sort of the hunger between like sort of that, and then did you always think you were going to go in and have your own business? Did something drive you into that, or what was the?
Yeah, so I'd say as soon as I was 16 and as soon as I got in working, I said to my mum and dad, I'm going to run my own business, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And they were just like, yeah, you just do your apprenticeship, that's fine. But I kind of always had that in me to sort of challenge myself. So I'd done the full 4-year apprenticeship. I stayed with the employer for another year as a sort of qualified tradesman, and then at 21 I went to Australia. A lot of my mates were going sort of travelling, so I was over there for just under 2 years. So that was good, broadened my horizons, done a bit of work, done a bit of travelling, and I worked on sites over there, which I hadn't done here. It was all sort of domestic here.
Yep.
I done gas work over there, which is completely different from here.
Yep.
And I got involved in a bit of aircon and things as well. So it was good to just, be sort of out of my comfort zone somewhere else working. From there, when I came back, I went back, I had a stint with my previous employer again for about 6 months. But at that point, I was working evenings, weekends for myself, trying to sort of build up a reputation. But I was limited to what I could take on because you can only do so much in a couple hours at night and a Saturday and Sunday. So at that point, it was make the decision of go completely by myself. And that was coming up 8 years ago. So
Has it went fast or slow, would you say? Bit of both?
A bit of both. I would say the start was it felt quite slow, but I'd say now the years just disappear. Like we've got the run into winter, which is manic.
Easy.
We just cleared our feet now and we're at Easter.
Wow.
You know, we're working our way through summer and before you know it, it's September and it's going on the countdown to Christmas again. So the years just seem to go quicker.
And is it really seasonal in that? Like we've had other guests on for the gas industry speaking about that seasonality and how difficult it is to kind of try and tap it.
The firm I worked for before, it was. Like the winter we were really busy, the summer we were a bit quieter. You would sometimes even just do 4-day weeks in the summer, it was great. So when I went myself, I thought that would be the case. And I always remember worrying, I went self-employed in the March, and I always remember thinking, what a stupid time to do it. It's coming up to the quieter spell through summer. And that year, I'll always remember July was my busiest month. And I thought, I don't know sort of why this is or what this is. But they predominantly done gas work, whereas we moved into plumbing pretty quickly. So I think in the winter, you're going to get your breakdowns where the boiler's broken, they need heat and they need hot water. Whereas the summer, some sort of bigger projects, people don't really want you ripping out their bathroom in the middle of winter unless they really have to. So we found the install side is busier in the summer and service repairs.
So it is then plumbing and gas that you do, so you can sort of jump between them.
They kind of come hand in hand. However, when I first started myself, doing a bathroom, unless you're a bathroom fitter, is hard work because you're dealing with other trades as well. So you've got to arrange joiners, electrician, plasterer, painter, tiler, and it can be a complete headache. So when I first started, I just done heating and I said, we're not touching bathrooms. But as the company grew and we added people, we've now got a full-time tiler. We're in the process of bringing in a full-time joiner.
That's good.
We just kind of fell into doing the bathrooms. So yeah, it works well.
That's pretty good. So what was them kind of early days like then? What did that look like? Were you just you yourself doing all your own admin, or did you have somebody there? Like what was the sort of...
So it started off just me and a van, just like a lot of sole traders. And I'd done everything from the marketing to the quoting to doing the job to sending the invoice to chasing the payments. Started off like that. That's it, it was great.
Easy nightmares thinking about it.
So that's how it started, and then I took on an apprentice within about 1.5 years, 2 years of starting, so it was pretty quick. And he's still with me to this day. So
that's good.
He served a full 4-year apprenticeship. He's a brilliant installer. Sort of 2 years in now, he's doing really, really well. Brilliant. And he's actually moving into a new role where he's carrying out surveys. So he's kind of half on the tools, half off the tools, kind of coming up through the company. So. That's
good. And you've got a few apprentices, you said. So
so we've got currently got 3 on the books now. So we've got 2 that are going into their 3rd year in summer, so they'll be doing their gas this year. And we've got 1 that's going into his 2nd year in summer. So we try and take on 1 a year. Try to sort of commit to that. Obviously, there was a couple of years at the start where we never had the manpower to actually accommodate that. But the last few years has been pretty consistent of trying to take on 1 a year.
That's pretty good because then it just gives you that flow of like people always coming through, because a lot of the time the drop-off rates with apprentices can be quite bad as well. But it looks like you've got a few that's actually, especially the first guy that stayed right through.
First guy stayed right through. We've got another apprentice that qualified a year or so ago. He's still with us now as well. Brilliant. So he's another installer. And then I can say 3 on the books.
It's quite a like, that's the way to do it. That is the way to do it.
It's so hard to get staff. This is, and you know yourself, all trades, it's a nightmare to get staff. So it's not a short-term fix getting an apprentice because they don't know what tools are when they first turn up. But long-term, it works really well because you can teach them the way you want to work and the way you do things. And we've kind of committed to that, along with obviously trying to get other stuff as well.
Yeah, no, it can be really difficult. No, it makes sense, but at least you're building for the future and it's giving back to the industry as well. What's your kind of viewpoint on then the sort of, have you got any guys that's done the sort of like the no the crash course, but the kind of like the more direct route?
Yeah, so we've got a couple of guys. We've got two guys that have done it, but both have done the course, went and worked with other companies, got a couple of years experience, and then came with us.
Yeah.
We do have a sort of setup with one of the training providers where you need to get a portfolio, so we take people out and help them get their portfolio. And then we've taken one on from doing that.
That's quite good, that, actually.
Yeah, I mean, some of the best guys I know have done that course. You can't knock it, but I just think you need the experience. Even as an apprentice, when I finished my 4-year apprenticeship, I remember getting sent to my first job, and I was doing these jobs week in, week out with a tradesman.
Yeah.
And I turned up and looked at it and thought, I've not got a clue what I'm
You
doing
go
here.
white, eh? You go on, no.
Yeah, it's like learning to drive. The first time you sit in the driving seat by yourself after passing your test, you don't have that comfort blanket next to you. It's a bit like, this is real. So I think there is definitely a place for it. But I think the problem is that people get the qualification and straight away see the money signs and think, right, I can get into the engineer's job. And it can quickly knock your confidence. If you go work for a bigger company, you make a few mistakes and you've got some boss on your back saying what's going on, but you've not got the experience.
I like the way as well, like, so if you're bringing people in, they're doing 4-year apprenticeship, and then like the ones that's staying with you, like they're actually like learning not just the industry stuff, but they're learning like the Corstorphine Gas Services actual values and ethics and all that way through. So it's like them guys just know the company inside out. They've been there for years. They know kind of what the do's and don'ts are and how things should be, and because everybody's got their own wee twist on things. So them guys can be really valuable in terms of if you maybe bring somebody in who's like a gas engineer for elsewhere or a bathroom installer or whatever, and these guys come in, and then you've maybe got, they might work alongside your apprentice who's been there 3 years. Not just is that apprentice like probably a good hand because they've now done 3 years, but they know your company inside out. So they can maybe sort of be a good influence to somebody coming in to say, look, that's not really how we do this here.
Definitely.
Lewis likes it this way or likes it that way. So there's quite a benefit to that as well. But I think certainly on the apprentices, like we had a few that probably like just never stuck it out. That's when we started kind of trying to do like the 1 year sort of thing where we wanted people to really make sure they were serious about it, and also just get a winter under their belt, because like roofing in winter can be quite terrible, to be honest. Do you know, like it's all weathers, and even to be honest, even in the summer, like you can just get like weeks of rain at times. It's no that to say it's just the winter, but it can be cold, dark mornings, like early nights, all that stuff, and you're outside. There's no really, do you know, I know there's some roofing companies that maybe do like plastering as well or something, and there may be sometimes inside, but we're predominantly it's all outside. So we try to get the guys to maybe come in, see what it's like, make sure they're going to really enjoy it as well, because it's quite a big commitment to commit to a 4-year apprenticeship and then pull out of it. Like that, I don't think anybody would ever do it thinking, oh well, I just pulled out because I couldn't be bothered. It's probably quite a big decision, so you need to make sure it's the right thing for you. But
we've been really fortunate with the guys, and we'll say that's 5 apprentices, and we've not had any pull-outs. I don't know whether that's just we've had the luck of the draw. And in terms of bringing in engineers, you know, we've brought guys in that have stayed with us. We've got guys that have been with us sort of 5-6 years. We've had guys come in that haven't passed the probational period. We've had guys come in, we've had guys leave. It sort of comes and goes, but as it stands, all of our apprentices are sort of still there. But no, I agree with, you know, it is a big commitment. You know, it's not the best money as an apprentice, but if you can grind it out, it's worth it. Everyone says get a trade behind you. You know, they're always gonna need us.
Definitely. So where is the company now? Like what's the sort of staff size and what have you got it to now?
So we're around about 16, 17 full-time staff at the moment. That's including the 3 apprentices and there's 3 staff in the office as well. And we've got a couple of subbies that are pretty much use them on a weekly basis all the time. And we've got another couple that we use sort of here and there when we need them. They're mainly sort of other trades. We try and keep all our sort of gas and plumbing in-house if we can.
Yeah.
So this is electricians, plasterers, joiners,
Yeah.
tilers.
That was the thing there. It's came back to me now. I'd lost my space. I was going to say, you said it might be down to luck, or like luck of the draw. Like you've kept them apprentices on for so long and they've stayed with you. It's like, is there something that you're doing a wee bit different for others? Because it can't be luck. No, when you're getting like 5 apprentices, it's all stayed. There's something obviously gone right there.
I mean, we've got a really good team, and it's a really, really, really close knitted team as well. We've got quite a young team, but then we've got guys with 20, 30 years experience as well. But it just kind of all fits together. It's very sort of family-like. It's a really good dynamic. We go out every quarter. We take them out. We do something. We get targets. So they've got certain sort of sales targets and areas to try and hit and achieve. And they've been told they're getting taken to Benidorm if they hit one of them, for example.
Oh,
so
really?
We do.
You're putting pressure on everybody here.
So we do try and do things sort of slightly different, but
that's good.
And although I've got multiple staff, I don't really need to be there all the time. I'm still there, and I'm still in contact with the guys every single day. I'll check in with them once a week and see how they're doing, so they know who their boss is, rather than you go and work for some of the much bigger companies and you can't get hold of your boss unless he's moaning at you. So I've tried to sort of keep it that way, and I think that does help because it's a sort of happy environment.
And is that just things like that could be like, Benidorm's quite a biggie, but maybe like going to go-karts or like having is it team nights out, things like that?
Yeah, so we done, like last year we done an escape room, for example, and then we went up and done bowling and things. We were out for dinner a couple of weeks ago, and then a few drinks after that.
That is good.
We're trying to set up sort of paintballing and just sort of team bonding activities that always ends up in going for a drink after.
And then moving forward, like what's the sort of future kind of plans then?
So they're actually brought into apprenticeships now that are doing a bit of renewables at college. I think a lot of people have heard of sort of heat pumps and things. So we're sort of looking into that. I've done quite a few courses myself. I'd rather know about it myself than just send guys out to do it when I know nothing about it. So I've been sort of investing quite heavily in trying to learn more, learn off people that have been doing it a long time, because although it's similar, it's a completely different ballgame. And there's going to be a lot of people doing it incorrectly, and we want to be one of the people that are doing it right. So we are looking into that, and we'll sort of see.
Is it one of them like you'll not just rush it because it's the new in thing? It's like if it's going to fit your business, you think you can get a good strategy for doing it then?
Yeah, completely.
Because we've seen a bit of that with like the solar. Like we've started a solar company there recently, and it's like it does fit quite well with roofing already, and we'd done it in the past for like quite a few years. So it wasn't like we just went, oh, there's this new thing, so we'll just jump in. It was like I kind of partnered with somebody who's expert in it, and it's made it all like the journey a lot easier. But
you're better. I mean, it'd be easy for me to just say, yeah, that's what we do. We've got a huge customer base, put it out, say we do heat pumps now. But it would just come back to haunt us because we would do it wrong, and we would have to go back and fix it.
You've got to build that like knowledge up first, and can you?
Yeah, and we don't necessarily need it. Like we're busy enough, so I'd rather take our time and get it right and let it grow organically than force into something and make mistakes.
That's quite a good trait that you must have, because it's the same with your apprenticeship route. Like you're willing to like take the time and allow them to come through that, and almost like that delayed gratification. It's like you can.
It's the way I've done the whole business. It's been just organically grown. We've not forced anything. We've just hired when we've needed to. Never really went crazy or anything, and just sat tight, and it's a long game. If you try and push anything, you just trip up. So I'd rather sit tight. I'm a bit cautious with stuff like that, but then at the same time, I'll take a punt on things.
It sounds like it's working. Just adding that wee bit of caution in though, because sometimes you can just be a wee bit too gung ho, and at times like we've done that even sometimes in our companies, and it's like you push forward a bit, but then you're like, right, we're going to need to spend quite a few months fixing that, and sometimes that can be just the way to get over a wee hurdle, but there's definitely a lot to be said about trying to do it over a longer kind of period of time. Definitely. What's the sort of, on that then, like what's the sort of scaling up plans, if you like? Is it?
So we've got two of the staff have, like I was mentioning earlier, one of the apprentices that's came right through, and another lad, they're now going sort of half off the tools, half on the tools. So they're being given, they're carrying out sort of surveying and doing a bit more management of the sort of install teams, bathroom teams. So we're trying to build that up, so we've got more of a sort of management level as well.
That's good.
If we can get someone dealing with one aspect, we can obviously add more staff to that side of the business. So
it's quite a good model, that.
yeah, just going to see how that goes. Just keep trying to sort of build. We've got the sort of renewable side coming in as well, so that would be another avenue in the business. So there's plenty options there. It's just seeing what works, and then once we know what works, go all in on that.
I'll take you back to the start just to ask you a question, because this was something that came up on a recent podcast that I done. But like, I always wanted to get a trade so I could go to Australia, because I just got told that it makes it easy. Did that make that easy?
No. Well, yes and no. I think it'll be different for different trades.
Right.
But in the plumbing and heating industry, Australia doesn't recognise your qualification, UK qualification, which is crazy, because the level of workmanship over there is shocking.
Yeah.
So they don't recognise ours, but we recognise theirs.
Yeah.
So if you're Australian and you come to the UK, you can work as a qualified plumber. But what you find is a lot of the guys over there that have businesses will look for expats coming over because they know they can do the job, but they don't have to pay them full rate. Wow. So you go in as like a skilled labourer, essentially, and they just have you running a job, and someone else comes off and signs it off behind you. Which,
that's interesting.
That's what they do. So you can, like, I walked onto building sites, just walked on and just said, have you got a job? And they said, what do you do? And I said, here's my plumbing qualification from the UK. They said, yeah, just get a hard hat and on you go. And that was that. So yes, in that instance, but for long term, like, I got offered sponsorship, but I was going to have to, you do like a competency test to prove, you don't have to redo your whole thing, you've just got to do a test to prove you're competent, but you're about £10,000 to do that, and then unless you're committing to 3 or 4 years, it's just not worth the time. So
interesting. No, thanks for that, mate. I appreciate that. Loads of good stuff in there, and I wish you all the best in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Cheers.
my man.